Every journalist who has ever sat down with Michael Dunlop asks him the same question. Every fan who has ever met him looks at him with the same eyes. Why do you still race? His uncle Joey died on a racetrack. His father Robert died on a racetrack. His brother William died on a racetrack. 3 men, same family, same sport, same ending. And Michael Dunlop is still on the starting line. Most people think he races for records, for the Dunlop name, for glory. They think he is chasing something. They think there must be some great reason behind it. There is not. The answer is somewhere nobody ever looks. It is not on the track. It is inside the helmet. Because inside the helmet there are no funerals, no phone calls in the middle of the night, no one asking how he feels, no one looking at him like he should have stopped a long time ago. Just speed, silence, and control. This is not the newspaper version, not the documentary version. This is what really happened to Michael Dunlop. Ballymoney, Northern Ireland, a small town where everybody knows your name before you are born. Michael Dunlop's uncle Joey, 26 TT wins on the Isle of Man, the greatest road racer who ever lived. In Northern Ireland, Joey Dunlop was as famous as George Best. His father, Robert, 5 TT wins, held the record for the most victories at the Northwest 200. Between them, they won more races on public roads than anyone could count. Michael grew up watching them race every weekend. He was born into all of that. The name was already there. The expectation was already there. The road was already there. He once said, "The Dunlop name has always been big into motorbikes and I can't get away from it." Michael did not choose road racing. Road racing chose him, before he was old enough to understand what that really meant, before he knew the real price. And the price was not broken bones or hospital beds. The price was funerals. There was a time when the Dunlop family was still whole. Uncle Joey was still racing. Robert was still racing. Michael and his brother William grew up beside the track, watching them every weekend. The smell of fuel and the sound of engines were as normal to them as breakfast. In 2003, Robert and Michael finished first and second at the Kells motorcycle meeting. Father and son on the same podium. The first time that had ever happened in Irish road racing history. Motorbikes were not danger to the Dunlops. Motorbikes were family. Motorbikes were how they spent time together. That was how the Dunlops talked to each other, not with words. With speed. Robert was there. Joey was there. William was there. Everyone Michael loved was in the same place, doing the same thing. Most people look at the Dunlop family and only see the loss. They are not wrong. But before the loss, there was something else. There were afternoons at the track where nobody thought about death. Just speed and laughter, and Robert telling his son he took the corner wrong. That world started to fall apart in the summer of 2000. June 2000. Joey Dunlop won 3 TT races in the same week, brought his total to 26. The whole world of road racing thought that record would stand forever. A few weeks later, Joey went to Estonia, a small race in Tallinn. Almost nobody outside road racing knew about it. The kind of race Joey loved, no cameras, no pressure, just a man and his bike. In the middle of a heavy downpour, he lost control. Joey Dunlop died at 48 years old, not at the top of the Isle of Man mountain, not in front of thousands of fans, but on a road in a country most of his supporters could not find on a map. More than 50,000 people came to his funeral. That is how much he meant. Michael was 11. Nobody knows what an 11-year-old truly understands about death. But years later, the pattern became clear. The thing the Dunlop family loved most had just taken away the person they loved most. And nobody in the family stopped racing. Robert kept going. William started racing a few months later, and Michael watched all of it. May the 15th, 2008, Northwest 200, practice session for the 250cc class. Robert Dunlop was riding. Michael was riding right behind him. Father and son were in the same session, on the same piece of road, a few seconds apart. Robert's engine seized at over 150 miles per hour. He grabbed the front brake by mistake. The bike threw him over the handlebars. A rider behind ran over him before crashing himself. Michael was right there. He was one of the first to reach his father. He got down on his knees on that road. He later said, "I held his hand and prayed he'd be all right." Robert Dunlop died that evening. He was 47. 2 days later, the race officials held a meeting. They decided that Michael and William were not mentally fit to be in control of a vehicle. They banned both brothers from racing. Michael was 19 years old. He had just held his dying father's hand on the road where Robert had raced his whole life, and someone was telling him he could not ride. In his own words, "Are you kidding me? My dad died on this circuit. He holds the record for the most wins around this place. I'll be racing today, and that's the end of it." Nobody was going to stop him. William's bike broke down on the grid. He could not start. Michael lined up alone, and he won. The next morning, Michael Dunlop carried his father's coffin to the grave, 19 years old, won the race on the track where his father died, then shouldered the coffin the very next day. That was the day Michael Dunlop understood something he would carry for the rest of his life. He could not control who lived, who died, who stayed, but he could control the bike, and from that day he never stopped. Everyone asks why Michael Dunlop did not stop, like it is some kind of mystery, like there must be something wrong with him. He answered that question once, and it explained everything. I needed to race. It's the one thing I can be in control of. I couldn't control my dad's life or his death. I couldn't control the media or anyone who came to visit our house, but I could point that bike where I wanted it, and I could make it sing. Off the track, everything was out of his hands. Loss, debt, strangers knocking on his door with sad faces asking how he felt. He did not know how he felt. He just knew he needed to ride. In the worst years, he said, the debt collector was ringing every day, but while I was on the track, he couldn't touch me. He couldn't get into my helmet. There was no phone in there. Nobody gets inside that helmet. That is his. It's something that I've been raised in. It's all I know, really. The risks are high, but so is my love for the sport. People think he is mad. People think he has a death wish. But Michael Dunlop does not race because he is not afraid of dying. He races because it is the only place he is not afraid of living. Nobody in my mind would have went through what I've been through and come back to do this. And he keeps coming back. Every single time. July the 7th, 2018, Skerries 100, County Dublin. William Dunlop was practicing on his Yamaha R1. Oil leaked from the engine onto the rear wheel. He lost control and crashed into the trees. Michael's brother died at 32 years old. And here is what makes it worse than everything that came before. William was thinking about stopping. He had started to see things differently. His partner Janine was pregnant with their second child. Their little girl Ella was waiting for her dad to come home. He had pulled out of the TT that year to be with his family. Something he would never have done before. When someone asked William if racing still gave him the same feeling, he said, "Not since what happened to my dad." William was about to walk away from this sport, and the sport took him before he could. Michael stopped racing for the second half of 2018. He needed to. He could not think straight. He could not see straight. Then he came back. At the churchyard of Garryduff Presbyterian Church, near Ballymoney, there are now 3 graves side by side: Joey, Robert, William, same name, same minister, all killed on 2 wheels, and Michael still races. June 2024, Isle of Man TT. Michael Dunlop equaled his uncle Joey's record of 26 wins. Then he passed it. Win number 27. That record had stood for 24 years. The record that the whole world of road racing was built around. The record set by the man whose death started all of this. The record Michael had been chasing since he first raced on the mountain course at 18 years old. He said afterwards, "The whole world of road racing always revolved around Joey Dunlop's record, and for me that was the only record to break. That was the only one he ever wanted." But he also said something else, and he meant it. "I'll never be modeled against Joey, and I don't expect or want to be. Everybody's inspired to be like Joey at the Isle of Man. He broke his uncle's record. But he did not replace him. No one ever will. Even standing at the very top of the Isle of Man, Michael Dunlop is still standing in the shadow of his family, and he has made peace with that. Many people believe the record was his destination, that breaking it was the whole point. It was not. The record is just proof that he is still here, still racing, still alive." People ask Michael Dunlop many things. But almost nobody asks the simplest question of all. What does he feel when he races? He answered that once, on the Isle of Man, in one of his rare interviews. Once you're on the bike, you've got freedom. It's only you. Off the bike, lots of people are picking and poking at you. I'm free on the bike. Freedom. Not speed, not glory, not records, not the Dunlop name. Freedom. Freedom from loss, from expectation, from the weight of 3 graves in the Garryduff churchyard, from a lifetime of people asking why he has not stopped yet. He also said, "It's sometimes hard to love something that can be so cruel. If it wasn't for the sheer love of motorcycling, you wouldn't put yourself through the torture." Michael Dunlop loves the thing that killed his family, and he knows it could kill him. He is not naive. He knows exactly what these roads can do. But on that bike, at over 200 miles per hour, on the roads that took his father and his uncle and his brother, that is the only place he feels peace. And that is the most beautiful and the most terrifying thing about Michael Dunlop. What really happened to Michael Dunlop? It was not the records. It was not 27 TT wins. It was not watching 3 people he loved being put into the ground. What really happened is that life took away his control too many times. It took his uncle when he was 11. It took his father from right in front of his eyes. It took his brother when William was about to walk away. And every single time, Michael Dunlop got back on the bike. Because the bike was the only place life could not reach him. People ask why he does not stop. The better question is this: if he stops, where does he go? Motorcycle racing took almost everything from Michael Dunlop, his uncle, his father, his brother, and somehow, it is still the only place he has ever felt free.